I'm Assemblyman Benji Wimberly. I am the co-chair of the ballot committee, along with co-chair Barles, Assemblyman Barles. This is our third hearing, and we are looking forward to a fourth one. And we just want to make it perfectly clear, we are still working on a location. It will be next Monday, November 18th, and it will be a location in the South. So we are working on it. There are issues with live streaming capabilities with 2 of the locations that we've reached out to, and we will have that up for you as soon as we secure a location. So it will be next Monday, November 18th, 6 p.m. And more than likely, and definitely likely, it will be in the southern region of New Jersey. Okay, so we'd like to thank everybody for coming out. This, as I stated earlier with co-chair Barles, this is our third hearing. At this point now, we are looking forward to continued testimony to make sure that people understand that this is nothing that is already, ready to go. This is something that is definitely, we are sitting here listening to on both sides of the aisle, which is best for the residents of New Jersey. At this time, we're going to ask everybody to stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, roll call.
Assemblyman Scharfenberger.
Here.
Assemblyman Rodriguez. Here. Assemblyman McClellan.
Present.
Assemblywoman Matsakudis.
Present.
Assemblyman Nganmore.
Here.
Vice Chair, Co-Vice Chair Reynolds Jackson.
Present.
Co-Chair Wimberly.
Here.
Co-Chair Barles.
Here.
You have a quorum.
At this time, co-chair Barles, a few remarks before we get started.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. To echo what Assemblyman Wimberly said, this is our third hearing, our second public hearing. We have another one scheduled for next week. We should have one more. We anticipate one more after that, which we're working out the logistics. Our goal, theoretically, is for that one to be a virtual hearing to increase participation as well from the public. I believe, I can speak for the co-chair on this, we found these hearings so far to be actually very informative. It's been a pleasure to hear from our residents. It's heartening to see how many people actually care about this process and how thoughtful they have been in the reasoning and the rationale that they have come up with. And I know that that is all going into a bucket to help us all figure out what we're going to do next. Because it just isn't as simple as do what the judge told you to do. So with that, Co-Chair, I got nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you, and we're going to ask everybody who is testifying to keep their testimony up to under 3 minutes or more. I will give leeway to our mayors of each of the cities, and we do welcome, being his hometown, the mayor of Newark, Raz Baraka, and NJIT for hosting us today. We'd like to thank NJIT. This is my first time in this unbelievably beautiful building that I was pretty lost in. I made it from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor to the back, but this is absolutely beautiful. But our first person that will testify today is the mayor of Jersey City, Mayor Steve Fulop.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Fulop, and I currently am and serve as the mayor of Jersey City and currently a candidate for governor in the state of New Jersey. I want to thank the assembly members for the opportunity to testify with regards to ballot design and what constitutes a fair ballot here in New Jersey. It's a topic of great importance to me as someone that intends to be on the ballot next year, and I know it's a topic of great importance for many candidates down ballot that are running for the office of state assembly themselves, as well as some that are running for county commissioner. I want to highlight that in the spring of 2024, after testimony, Judge Karashi clearly defined what constitutes a fair ballot, and the verdict was unanimously upheld by an appellate court, which tells you again the merits of the argument on how democracy has been undermined by the ballot construct here in New Jersey. In his ruling, Judge Karashi indicated the importance of a separate and equal draw for each candidate for each office. I want to repeat that just for emphasis. A separate and equal draw for each candidate for each office within the block ballot construct that all other states use. It's for this reason that there is great skepticism over the intent of this committee. If the goal was to codify the ruling of Judge Karashi, then a committee wouldn't really be necessary on that front. But if there's intent to circumvent, like some think there is, then clearly this is the process that one would pursue. I want to put on record, though, it's not enough to use the term block ballot design, but at the same time undermine the intent of the separate and equal draw for each candidate. That includes special marks, preferences of ballot position within block ballot, or bracketing of candidates that gives one candidate a visual advantage over another. I want to focus my time on bracketing, because that clearly is a deviation from the intent of Judge Karashi's ruling of each candidate having an individual ballot draw. Since each assembly member already has the right to associate via a slogan, a bracket only serves to visually skew the ballot design. The idea of bracketing clearly discriminates against candidates that don't want or can't bracket with other candidates. Bracketing places those single candidates as a visual disadvantage similar to the line and does not uphold each candidate with an individual draw. Rather than spending your time on creating an advantage that would surely end up in court again and also be a political liability for people that support it, I would implore you to spend your time not only on the ballot design process, but also how is the ballot endorsement achieved and the reform that is necessary there by recognized parties. We saw in the Senate primary that the slogans and ballot construct being considered today are a direct product of a county process that in some instances is corrupt in many areas of the state. Some counties have no convention at all to achieve party support. Some force a public vote so they could watch how people vote. Some allow only placed municipal chairs to actually vote. Some have a chairman that can override an advisory vote by the committee. And some counties allow the chairman to stack the deck with superdelegates. All of this is directly related to how the ballot is designed. All of those undermine democracy, and if we're discussing association and democracy in New Jersey, then the process on how we achieve the ballot construct should be uniform as much as the ballot design and something that you consider. The process should be each individual committee person gets one vote in a closed and private ballot for a binding outcome. That's all. Anything less is merely protecting the status quo. This is an opportunity for progress with the public rightfully skeptical of your intent. It's with this in mind I encourage to uphold and codify Judge Karashi's ruling of a separate and equal draw for each candidate for each office within the block ballot construct. No bracketing, no special marks, no special placement. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and I'm going to leave a copy of my comments with the clerk for the record as well.
Thank you, Mayor. Are there any questions for Mayor Fulop? Yes, Assembly.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Here's my question for you.
Sure.
Your comments regarding the ballot, I believe you're referring to the primary ballot. Do they also apply to the general election ballot?
My feeling is that the line process is not just my...
That's not us, just so you know.
I gotcha. I believe that the line process should be gone in absolute. I think that stands for both the general and the primary. I think that if you're going to create a fair democracy in New Jersey and not have a skewed ballot either way, I think that you do need to consider that. I recognize that we live in a state that is skewed Democratic for a long time, and many Democrats would probably say that a ballot construct in November creates an advantage that's favorable for them. If we're being absolute fair about democracy in the state, you should have block ballot design both in the primary and general.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other members?
I got a question.
Yes, Co-Chair.
Do you think this no bracketing should apply just to the primary or to all elections?
What would it look like in the general? I mean, if
No,
there's-
I'm saying nonpartisan elections as well.
Yeah, I think that if you have the right to associate and share a slogan, that is enough. I think skewing with bracketing creates a visual advantage. In Board of Education elections, in council races in Jersey City, you'd certainly see that the bracketing is a visual advantage, and I think that should be done with uniformly throughout the state of New Jersey.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Mayor of Newark, Mayor Raz Baraka.
Thank you. So first, we want to thank the committee.
Button on the right.
Thank you. Right. Thank the committee for being here in Newark. We appreciate your presence. Thank NJIT the president of this university for allowing this space to be used for this function. We deeply appreciate it, and I'll try to make it to as many as I can. I heard some comments from the first one. Some of them were okay, some of them I had a little had to take umbrage with. I would like, if you allow me, to dedicate my comments, and they're not a lot, to two people that I think really need to be highlighted because the reason that we're here today, some people are here for different reasons and for different motivations. Obviously, my name is on that ballot as well next year, but ultimately, I think I'm here for a larger reason in my mind here in the city of Newark. I would like to dedicate these comments to two people. Robert Smalls is one of them. The other person is Fannie Lou Hamer. Robert Smalls was a slave in the Carolinas who, in fact, commandeered a Confederate boat and with 17 slaves on it, took it to the north, to the Union side. And before he did that, he rendezvoused with his wife and kids and picked them up and put them on a boat and they left. That's just the beginning of the story. The end of the story is that Congress paid him money, half the money for the boat that he had, and after the Civil War, he actually bought his master's home. This man came back and was elected to the state assembly, elected to the state senate, and served in Congress for as long as Reconstruction existed in the South. It's an amazing story. It's an amazing American story. I'm sure he didn't know what a referendum was or what the assembly's role was at the time, what a state senate's role at the time was. But I think that because of him, a lot of us are sitting up here today. The other person is Fannie Lou Hamer, who found out before she ran for office, just 2 years before that she could actually register to vote at a SNCC meeting. Her family was sharecroppers. Sharecroppers are people who stayed on the plantation and worked for food or housing, right? She's from a large, huge family, right? We know this lady in history of New Jersey because she showed up here in Atlantic City as the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party to make sure that the Democratic Party was not segregated and completely white. She did that and ran for office later. Because of her efforts, the 1965 Voting Rights Act was passed a year before she showed up in New Jersey and Atlantic City, fighting for her ability to vote. I'm sure she could not read everything on a referendum, on a ballot. I'm sure she couldn't go through all of the ins and outs of what legislation was or could really explain to you the particulars of every policy that existed or how this thing worked. But that wasn't an excuse then, and it's not an excuse now to prevent her from having access to democracy. That wasn't an excuse, and it shouldn't be as we're figuring this out. Those are two people that I thought sitting here at NJIT in the city of Newark on Martin Luther King Boulevard, that it was appropriate for me to talk about before and hopefully I didn't disobey any rules to say their names but before I gave my comments. And so I just want to thank the opportunity to speak here today. I think what we're doing strikes at the very heart of our democracy. In fact, it speaks volumes to what we just witnessed on the November Tuesday election. The use of the line on our ballots was and has always been an anti-democratic practice. As leaders in New Jersey, we have long known it was wrong, yet we allowed it to persist for decades. And while the judge is poised to strike the line completely, this committee has a crucial choice. We can either cling to political gamesmanship and undermine fair representation and chip away at public trust that's already eroded, or take a decisive step forward to make democracy the sole priority. We really have two paths in front of us, right? We could attempt to manipulate and build a line by another name, knowing that it creates barriers to true democratic choice and reinforce a sense of disenfranchisement among voters, or we could end this practice now. No political maneuvering, no more power plays. We have the opportunity right here, right now, to respect the court's decision on a ballot design and commit ourselves to a clear democratic path forward. It is our moment to leave behind outdated practices and embrace a fair way to conduct our primaries and all of our elections. My hope is that this committee's goal is very clear, is fair, is accessible, and simple. A ballot that empowers every voter and every candidate equally, even if that person was Fannie Lou Hamer or Robert Smalls. This isn't complicated. We know how to make our ballots fair, and the people of New Jersey deserve a process that honors their voices and reflects our state's true diversity and values. So I urge you to put any ideas aside and to move that would take us in an anti-democratic way and move righteously into a new era of transparency and equity in our elections. Last week, in the wake of the election, I said democracy was sacrificed at the altar of indifference. Now, everybody might not believe that, but I do. We must recognize that the line in any version of it breeds that very indifference. And let's be clear, fixing the ballot design is just the beginning of what we should do to strengthen democracy in New Jersey. There are a few things that we should be thinking about doing. Same-day registration. We should be thinking about allowing 16-year-olds to register to vote for school board elections. We should be thinking about how to get more participation and not less. And get rid of policies that discourage voting and make sure they don't exist because they don't exist by accident. This ballot design is a first step to let the working people and the working families of New Jersey know that we are going to allow access to every single person in every little thing, even on accident or on purpose, by design or by happenstance. We're going to get rid of any obstacles to make the process fair and democratic, either real or perceived. It is our only step, our only path, our only journey forward to what true democracy looks like in New Jersey. And we must embrace it. We must embrace it wholeheartedly and completely. And with that, we embrace inclusivity, transparency, ease of access, robust participation for all, and discouraging anything that creates apathy and disengagement so we can get what we just witnessed in the last national election. God bless you, Godspeed to you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity today.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have any questions for the mayor?
I do. I wanted to, we've asked several other speakers this question about doing away with the primary and just having in general. What are your thoughts around that?
Well, that's interesting, and you know, ultimately, I think there is some use for primary elections, but if we believe that having just a general election is going to create more democracy, what I do believe what we should do is begin to change when our elections take place. That instead of having this off year, that we should participate as the same as the rest of Americans and have it in a year when most Americans participate in a national race. That we have our governor's race at the same time that the national elections take place. That we begin to stop these off ballot years and begin to do it collectively so that we get more participation and greater participation from the electorate.
Thank you, Mayor. And once again, we definitely appreciate being here in Newark and NJIT. We have another question. Someone put the word.
I just want to say thank you, Mayor. It was a pleasure to have you, and thank you for participating.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Next, we have Lavigne Ragavan from AAPI, New Jersey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for having me speak here. My name is Lavanya Raghavan. I'm a board member at API New Jersey, the largest pan-Asian organization in New Jersey. I became a naturalized citizen of the United States on August 20th, 2013, right here in Newark, New Jersey. This was a momentous day for me. Becoming a citizen meant relinquishing my former nationality, swearing allegiance to the United States, embracing the rights and responsibilities of an American, and most notably, the right to vote. I come from India, the world's largest modern democracy, and have immigrated to the United States, one of the world's oldest modern democracies. Experiencing two different democratic systems has given me a unique perspective. In India, citizens take their right to vote seriously. However, the system has faced persistent challenges. Corruption and bribery are widespread. Political power is commonly backed by money and muscle power. And long lines at polling stations, missing names on lists are common frustrations. You can understand, then, that to cast my vote freely and fairly in the United States felt like both a right and an honor. A little over a year after my naturalization, I cast my first vote in the 2014 primary election. I was surprised and frankly puzzled by the ballot design. Rather than grouping candidates by office, the ballot presented them in an order that was neither intuitive nor accessible. A confusing array of names and positions that required me to scan the entire list to identify candidates. To add to this confusion was the kindly advice from my neighbor who encouraged me to go with line A, or was it line B, who could tell. Even with my graduate level educational background and proficiency in English, I struggled to navigate the ballot. For those facing language barriers, I can only imagine how much more daunting this experience might be. Based on my experience as a first-time voter over a decade ago, I strongly urge the committee to simplify the ballot design. A clearer ballot would not only make voting more accessible, but would also empower more of us to participate confidently in our democracy. Grouping candidates by office, as is common in many other states, would make the ballot more user-friendly. A redesigned ballot is essential to ensure that each one of our voices are represented equitably without inadvertent barriers that could lead to disenfranchisement. This is a crucial step towards ensuring that all citizens, whether lifelong citizens or newly naturalized immigrants, as I once was, feel welcomed and empowered in this process. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Thank you very much. Next, we have Brittany D. Claybrooks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brittany Claybrooks. I am a former councilwoman in the city of East Orange. I also previously served as the North Jersey political director for now Senator-elect Andy Kim, so you can imagine why I'm sitting here. And I just announced today that I do intend to run for assembly in the 34th district. I am going to come from a little bit more of a personal experience that I've had with this situation, and then move into what I believe the ballot design should be. As a councilwoman, we can arguably agree in my city that I've gotten a lot done, a lot passed. But the day I decided not to do what my chairman had asked me to do, I was told that there was no way I'd ever make it to a ballot fairly, and that I had to be kicked off of what is called the line. And as we sit here today, having made so much progress, I think my concern around not upholding the judge's recommendation or his ruling is that we will continue to create ways for people to be locked out of the ballot. And as you know, good policies are made by people, elected people. And I do believe everyone has a fair right to run. And not run when somebody gives them permission, not run when they don't have the resources and somebody tells them that they just have to go, but run and have the fair opportunity to run because they may be the best person for that job. In the city where I come from, the very issues that we were fighting for and making progress on have halted. Some of them still exist. And I believe that has everything to do with the fact that folks don't feel empowered to even enter onto a ballot because they believe they're disadvantaged from the start. I happen to represent one of the counties where the chairman can do whatever he wants.
Ms. Claybrooks, I'm going to ask you to stay on the ballot, design and that issue. And
correct.
Stay away from personal comments.
Correct. I believe that's a larger, the effect of that comes from our ballot design. It is giving chairmen, it's giving people a unfair advantage for people to enter onto the ballot. I do believe that if people are able to enter onto the ballot freely and fairly, without association and visual advantages, then we'll begin to focus on who will best represent our interests. I'm one of many. And so I recognize and I respect your comment, but I don't think in New Jersey we can talk about this issue without talking about some of the structure and the political structure in a way that has created this very issue that we're talking about, which is why I've been able to serve the way I have.
If you make a generalization about chairmen across the board,
chairman, yes.
Directly.
Correct. Well, I can't speak for other chairmen, but I do agree that sometimes it creates a party boss system, which we've been fighting for, which ultimately has led us to where we are today. And I appreciate you for allowing us to speak and asking the public, and not just the general public, but those of us who are seeking to serve, what it is that you can do. And I really do believe you should uphold the judge's decision to keep it as fair as possible in primary, generals, and it does not matter the level of race either.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions, Ms. Clippers? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next, we have Jill Lazari, now New Jersey.
Hi, everybody. First of all, I cannot tell you how excited I am that we are sitting here at all. I never thought, even in my lifetime, that we would see this. This is amazing. I've been active since I'm 16 years old in New Jersey politics and nationally, and it's been a point of contention to have, you'll excuse me, I know you're all elected officials, but to have county bosses dictating who can and cannot reasonably run and be seriously considered for office. So, good evening. Thank you to all of you in the committee for giving me an opportunity and all of the community members to share our thoughts, our experiences on elections. I am the president of National Organization for Women in New Jersey, and I am a former candidate for Assembly and State Senate in New Jersey's 21st District, and I'm also an attorney. I've attached, I think all of you should have gotten it, a ballot from the 2024 primary election for Essex County. It could have been maybe other counties. I hope you all can see it. It's an example, in my opinion, of what is not what we should be doing in designing our ballots. I'm new to Essex County. I was in Union County for years. I grew up down in Monmouth County. And this is the ballot from the primary in 2024. And it seems to have attempted to go along with the court decision because it's boxed. However, if you look carefully at it, it doesn't achieve what we were hoping to achieve because it will have all the regular, let's say, Essex County Democratic Committee, Inc., straight across. Does everybody have it? It's straight across. It's just like saying to go down the party line. That obviously is not achieving what we were hoping to achieve with this court order. So the reason why it's not a good design is it still has the names of the organizations next to the candidates' names on it, and it is designed so that all of the same county awarded candidates are next to each other, even though they are in blocks and ostensibly not on a county line, as you can see constructively. It is still a county line and still can go across as vote column A, vote column B, which is precisely what, if we want to be fairer, we're not going to do. So as set forth in detail in the court's decision that abolished the county line, the aim is for fairer ballots that do not disenfranchise the folks of our state or our candidates. Essex County did not achieve that. I'm not going to just say it was Essex County because I did not look at all of the county ballots. And I'm sorry, I know I'm sitting in Essex County, I'm a resident of Essex County, and I love being in Essex County. So please forgive me, Essex County election, Board of Elections. I don't mean to call you out and say you're a bad guy. But as I said, I've run for office, and I've run for office on a party line, on the county line, and off the county line. And there's no question that having the party line constructively puts a finger on the scale. But we all know that. I mean, we're all here.
Ms. Lazari, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up if you could. We're going to try to keep it within 3 minutes, but if you could get to the points or whatever you've handed out, we'd appreciate.
Okay, then as the president of Now New Jersey, I will say that I think that using a county line or titles disenfranchises disproportionately women, and especially women of color. It is not really the best for anybody in the state. And in closing, I ask the committee tonight, can we not do better? do better with more freedom for independent thinking, that is discouraged by having to comport to a county boss who may actually not have all the best answers for all the people of our state. Maybe we can do so much better than we already are doing. I've essentially lived my entire life in New Jersey and I love it. As great as it is, I believe it could be so much better with a more democratic process in choosing our elected officials, which is all in all of your hands. I appreciate all of you. I'm excited by this, and I thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Mrs. Lambert? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Lauren Dayton, a self-candidate, as a candidate.
My name is Lauren Dayton, and first of all, I want to thank you all for holding this hearing in the first place. Many of us out here are very excited it's actually taking place. I'm here today because I am one of the few, if not the only candidate that has successfully succeeded because of the ballot change in June. Andy Kim's lawsuit included my assembly run, included past elections that showed the skewedness of our ballot design. I have run on and off the ballot line, as we say, in Tenafly, New Jersey, and for District 37, Assemblywoman Park is here. She actually won the seat that I was going for. Last 2023, having run off the line for Assembly, I was abandoned by our municipal party and not given the line to run. I was running against an accused pedophile. He won on the line. I was very disheartened as a candidate and didn't want anything to do with New Jersey politics again. But then Andy Kim, Senator-elect, brought this lawsuit and changed our opportunity to become candidates here in New Jersey. This lawsuit allowed me to seek and become a candidate in the June 2024 primary without seeking party endorsement or approval, even though I'm a strong party Democrat and have done work for 6 years at Tenafly as its councilwoman on the Democratic ticket. In 2024, in June, I won my election with the new ballot design. I went to the, I don't know if it's called a hearing, but I went to the ballot draw, in which they put our names in a box and they laughed and the clerk shook it around and pulled out names out of a hat. And I actually got place number 3 out of 3. But it was a fairer process, and I still won with the most votes. And I just got reelected with the most votes. I actually beat Congressman Gottheimer in my town with the most votes because I do the work. But my community is so confused by the ballot that when I wasn't on the line, they didn't know how to find me, even though they had voted for me for 6 straight years and had supported my candidacy. And again, we're so confused they voted in an accused criminal. Today, I ask you to uphold Judge Kawashi, if I say his name wrong, please excuse me, his ruling. It is clear that the way the ballot draw needs to take place must be neutral. It is also clear that to allow more robust debate, better candidates, more diverse candidates in both interests and minorities and women, for them to become candidates, the party system in New Jersey, including the ability to pick and sway who's on the lines of the candidates, needs to change. So it wasn't a great process in June, pulling these funny little names out of a hat that they had printed, and was that more neutral? Yes, it was. We could do better though, as Jill just said, we can do better. The Judge Kwashi's ruling, the separate but equal ballot draw, has to take place for both primary and general elections. It really does bring new voices to the table. I'm actually going to skip over this long speech that I wrote, and I want to discuss...
Yeah, I'm sorry, if you could wrap it up.
I am. I want to discuss party slogan, because it really is just a backhanded way of bracketing candidates. Currently, in June, in this primary election, the candidates, again, picked a party slogan, and I didn't get the party slogan of the Bergen County Party. I had my own party, which I had run with the assembly when I ran off the line, and I chose that slogan. But if we are brave enough to actually face the prejudices in this system and recognize that we are keeping out good candidates and disenfranchising voters at extreme rates, then we have to be brave enough to get rid of this bracketing by party slogan as well. Because anything less is just going back to the same. And so I implore you, as you reconsider this party design, to figure out how heavy a hand you want the party chairman to have, because it is disenfranchising voters. Most voting in this country, in this county, where I am, is Bergen County, is 30%, which means 70% of your registered voters are sitting home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. State? Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Coach.
Thank you for being here. Just, wasn't following what you're saying about slogan. Are you saying get rid of it entirely, or
Yes.
in the primary? So just no
Yes.
slogan, it's just, this is the Democrats or Republicans and
These are
just your
people
name.
who qualify to be candidates. They have achieved the signatures. They are not given the preference of any party chairman or municipal party. They are candidates. I know a doctor who can't run. I know a teacher who can't run because they don't know the party chairman.
But you are also free to come up with your own slogan if you so choose.
Look,
So are you saying, no, I'm just asking, I'm not, I'm just asking, you're saying no slogans for anybody?
so I'm a lawyer, First
Sure,
Amendment.
I'm asking
Obviously,
you.
you have a right to associate. You have a right to create a slogan in an election. But you have to understand the way that the slogans are working are essentially the same as bracketing. And Mayor Fulop is very clear in his speech. It is backhanded bracketing. It's essentially saying who the party prefers, who the chairman prefers, where the money and funding is going.
So in that case, they use his name as their slogan in Jersey City with a actual bracket, like the English grammar bracket in the nonpartisan races. So you're saying no to both?
I think if someone wants to support candidate Lauren Dayton, they can support candidate Lauren Dayton. But when candidate Lauren Dayton becomes the real Bergen Democrats or the party Democrats or, the Republicans or the Red Republicans, whatever it is, and 6 other people on the ballot have the same bracketed or slogan, and we are seen as aligned, voters are not that naive that they don't see the connections.
Okay. And then the other question I had, because we hear this a lot, is just codify what Judge Karashi said, right? As if we should just create, NJSA 19:Karashi, and just, that's it. Part of what he said was separate but equal draw, right? He did it across the board on the Democratic side for every office, whether or not you had a primary, whether or not you had an opponent, I should say. Are you saying, or is your opinion that should happen even if you are uncontested, or is it safe to say that if it's one person filing, they're going to be first no matter what? Or if there's 2 people filing, they're going to be 1 and 2?
The point of the election is to let people have conversation and debate, robust debate. And even if you are an unopposed candidate, the ideas you might bring to the table might change hearts and minds of the other candidates.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying on a draw, right? You went and witnessed a draw. You came in third, so you were drawn third. So there were 3 people?
Yes.
Okay. So for how many seats?
For 2.
Okay. So if there were only 2 people who filed, should there have been a draw, is the question.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think it should just be neutral.
Okay.
So draw for all seats.
Okay.
Also, the first person sometimes gets more votes than the second person. So let that be neutral. Even though they're on, maybe the same position, maybe they're unopposed, maybe voting count is important to a candidate.
Okay. Okay, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ronald Chen.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair, Mr. Co-Chair, and esteemed members of the Commission. My name is Ronald Chen. I speak tonight solely in my individual capacity, but just for purposes of identification. I'm a distinguished professor of law at Rutgers Law School, which is literally across the street. And I'm a member of the National Board and one of the 3 General Counsel of the American Civil Liberties Union. For those with a long memory, I had my stint in state service as the state's 6th and currently last public advocate under Governor Corzine. I advocate a very straightforward position. I urge the commission to recommend an office block format in the spirit of what Judge Qureshi was certainly describing for all elections, both primaries and general, which can be supplemented with a slogan. And with that, I think that ballot best does what a ballot is really designed to do, and I think we have to keep in mind the purpose of the ballot is to ascertain the views and expressions of the voter. It is not the proper place for the candidates or political parties to express their views. Now, as a very staunch First Amendment advocate who is litigating these issues, I consider myself as much an absolutist on the First Amendment as anyone else, and I teach in this area. But no one would say that the First Amendment or the right to free expression requires that candidates or parties have the ability to express themselves, including their affiliations, in every possible time, place, or manner. And the ballot, again, is a place for the voter to express their views. And therefore, devices such as the county line and bracketing detract from that, and there is no constitutional right to use those devices on the ballot, although certainly there would be absolutely a constitutional right to express their affiliation in other fora. I mean, even the slogan, frankly, I don't think is constitutionally required. A number of states do without the slogan. But I think any interest that the candidates and parties might have in expressing their association with each other is more than amply satisfied by having an office block format with a slogan by which, if you wish to know which candidates associate with each other, they can do so with the slogan. But otherwise, the manner of presentation of the candidates should be completely neutral and without any devices such as bracketing or the line or special marks that are outside the neutral principles that I've just discussed. And that's really all I
Thank you very much.
Mr.
Chair, do we have any questions for Mr. Chen? Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chen, for coming. I'm very concerned about educating voters about this new ballot design that we're going to do. Any recommendations?
Well, and I don't mean to minimize that concern at all, but lists like that by which an office block appears are the types of ways that in everyday life we tend to express our views in a lot of contexts. So I'm not sure that an average voter would need too much educating if the block is clear. This is for voting for the office of President of the United States. Here are the names. The manner in which they express themselves to accurately express their viewpoint, I don't think will be too hard to explain. But I absolutely agree that anytime you change a ballot, especially a form that has been so, how should I put it, unique to New Jersey for so many years, that there should be a very robust public education system exactly showing what this new ballot is going to look like. We obviously got a little bit of that over the summer with the office block format in the primary. So I think with that ample effort at education, explaining the office block format will not be an insurmountable task.
Any more questions for Mr. Chen? Thank you. Next, we have Elena Little.
Hi, good evening, Assembly members. My name is Elena Little, and I'm a resident and registered voter in Jersey City. Thank you for your time tonight. I'm here tonight to urge the Assembly not to put their thumb on the scale of primary ballots and to move forward with codifying office block ballot design with no special designation for incumbents or endorsees. I have run in Democratic primaries off the line 3 times, for County Commissioner in 2020, for County Democratic Committee in 2021, and for County Executive in 2023. I'm going to speak tonight from my personal experience. Each time, people ask me if I was crazy. This is because the county line suppresses people who would otherwise choose to run for office. People couldn't understand why someone would throw their hat in the ring when the odds were stacked against them. And I understand this varies by county, but in Hudson County, the process for the party endorsing its nominees is completely opaque. I was not given an opportunity to seek the party's endorsement, nor were county committee members given a say. Now, I understand this varies by county, so this is not a statement on all counties, it is a statement on my county. In practice, I have seen the line function as a tool to deceive voters. In 2020, we were on the ballot during a presidential primary, and the Hudson County Democratic Organization bracketed their endorsed candidates with Joe Biden, who at the time was the presumptive nominee. The HCDO line misleadingly implied that Biden had supported or endorsed all the candidates lined up under him, when I'm nearly certain Joe Biden was not briefed on the Hudson County Commissioner race in District 4. You know, I had voters ask me, does this mean that Biden endorsed all these people? And I said no, but that's what the appearance signified to people. On top of this, the HCDO sent out mailers and hung up posters urging voters to stop Trump, vote column B in a Democratic primary where Trump was not on the ballot, which only served to deceive and confuse voters in the middle of a global pandemic and an unprecedented vote-by-mail July primary. I strongly believe that competitive primaries yield stronger candidates for the general election. In my opinion, Democrats saw this at the federal level just last week. By foregoing a primary process, Vice President Harris did not have an opportunity to practice or hone her messages for a national audience and may have underperformed as a result. But this is not exclusive to Democrats. Republicans, too, should welcome competitive primaries to better prepare their candidates. Attempts by county parties to put their thumbs on the scale and pre-select their candidates through ballot design result in candidates that can get caught off guard in the general election. So I strongly urge the Assembly not to attempt to recreate the line or to create any preferential status for candidates through ballot design. Please do not circumvent Judge Parishi's decision. Please move forward with codifying office block ballots. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Next, we have Charlie Gradeville, Food and Water Watch.
Good evening, committee members. Charlie Cradaville. I spoke with you at your last meeting in my personal capacity, and I'm back tonight to speak on behalf of Food and Water Watch, a national environmental organization, and our 72,000 members around the state of New Jersey. I'll try not to be repetitive of the points I made on Thursday, but rather to elaborate and make some new points on the same topics. We support office block ballots. They're the way to go, not only for the primary elections, but for all elections. We believe this would be good for voters, but also for political parties, because robust, competitive, fair primary elections are the best way for parties to choose the strongest and best candidates that have public support from their party members. And we also support ranked choice voting. Opportunity to give voters more of a voice and finally end the spoiler effect. I think that we're all familiar with this concept of voters feeling pressure to choose the so-called lesser of two evils. Fear-based voting is not good for anyone, and ranked choice voting will end that. Ranked choice voting is a chance to enable people to express themselves more thoroughly with every vote they make, by expressing their first choice, their second choice, and so on. We also think that more information should be made available to voters outside of the ballot. Things like a voter guide with statements from candidates, so that candidates can express themselves in more than just a slogan. We also believe that independent authorities should be entrusted with ballot design, not elected partisan officials. And finally, we need less power for political parties. Our current system currently gives too much power to political party committees, which are largely unregulated private organizations, not standardized, and all too often unfair and undemocratic in how they run their organizations. Simply by virtue of the way they're comprised, they often have unequal representation for people who live in different areas, closed and secretive processes, and a boss-dominated structure. This is our chance, New Jersey, once-in-a-generation chance to upend the boss system and give power to the people it really truly belongs to, the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gradeville. Any questions? Thank you very much. Next, we have Ron Batista.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? My name is Ron Bautista. I've been a U.S. citizen since 2017, and I've run for office off the line as a Democrat in Hudson County for District 5 County Commissioner twice, and live to tell the story. So, but that's not where my story started. I was an undocumented immigrant for 11 years due to a long immigration process. I was fortunate that it was only 11 years. That's another story. However, the reason why I became involved in politics was because I had to migrate because of politics, because of political corruption. So in my mind and in my household, how we always saw it was you either get involved in politics and change it, or you see the negative impact of politics in you and your families and your loved ones. So when I got my green card, I said, oh, I can run for office in 5 years, because I can become a US citizen in 5 years after getting my green card. So I did. I built a whole plan, and yes, we're, just like many underserved communities, we're resilient, and we say, well, I know that the system says you cannot win, that you cannot run, that you shouldn't run, because of how the system is set in place, and then we do things anyway. And so I did. I prepared myself. I went through the New Leaders Council Progressive Fellowship Program. I ran for office a couple of times for mayor of Hoboken because I have my theory, my political theory in 2017. I ran for city council in 2019. I got 33% against a 20-year incumbent. And then in 2020, I got the call from other Democrats who wanted to run off the line and said, the only way that we can run off the line is if we partner up together and see how we can challenge race from the system that is in place. And so we ran, and I got 39% of the vote in that election. And then I said, well, let's try it again. So I tried it again in 2023, June. This was again against the party line, and I only missed it by 200 votes. Now, just because I was close, people were saying, this is weird. It's strange that somebody could come this close to winning a seat off the party line. That shouldn't be the case. And so, and I'm gonna wrap closer, sorry. Just because we are resilient doesn't mean the system is fair. And so that's what we're asking for, is for a fair chance and equal opportunity for anyone and everyday people to run for office. And that's why I support a block vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Bautista? That sounds like a movie, Mr. Bautista. I can't wait to see you win. I'm going to remember.
I appreciate it.
Right,
Have a good one.
Frank Pallotta, former congressional candidate.
Thank you all very much for your time. Former congressional candidate 2022, also a current exploratory candidate for Assembly in District 39. Good evening, esteemed members of the committee. My name is Frank Pallotta, and I stand before you here today as a former 2020 and 2022 New Jersey Republican House candidate for Congress, but even more so as a deeply concerned citizen of the great state of New Jersey. I'm here to speak out against the unjust and undemocratic process of the so-called county line and to demand that this body enact real and meaningful ballot reform. New Jersey shamefully stands alone in its practice of allowing party insiders to dictate the order of candidates on the primary ballot. This is not just unconstitutional, but raises the specter of breeding outright corruption in both our selection and our election process. Yet we permit this arcane system to persist, creating corruption in its purest form. I'm not here speculating or theorizing. I'm here sharing a personal experience because I lived the corruption. In the months leading up to my 2020 primary, I began receiving a steady stream of texts from an insider of the Bergen County Republican Organization. The demand was straightforward: pay up if I wanted a favorable position on the primary ballot. The term used was simple: buy the line. Quote, buy the line. When I refused and my support with the voters began to swell as my campaign progressed, the threats accelerated. The more resolute I remained in refusing extortionate threats, the more forceful the threats became. Quote, what are you talking about? I negotiated to give you the line if you gave the money and you kept saying no. I was clearly being pressured to purchase my own spot on the ballot. The final text I received was chilling in its certainty. Quote, here's what I can absolutely assure you. If you don't do anything, blank will get the BCRO support. And just like that, following my final refusal to pay the ransom, the chairman and the parliamentarian of the BCRO canceled the Bergen County Convention and handed the organizational line to the other candidate without a single county committee member ever casting a single vote. This is the true cost of the county line system. It doesn't just breed corruption, it actively silences new voices and discourages good and decent people from running for office. Competition is the lifeblood of our democracy, and the county line construct bleeds it dry. I am your living proof. New Jersey can no longer remain the outlier. The county line isn't just unconstitutional, it's morally wrong. It is no longer a harmless relic of the past. It is an active cancer in our electoral process, and it's time for a cure. Let's put the power back where it belongs, into the hands of the voters. I'm here to urge you, for the sake of our great democracy and the people's trust in our government, to abolish the county line altogether and not to give it a new life in a completely different form. Give New Jersey voters the choice they deserve. Let candidates compete on ideas, not the extortive exercises of selling the line to the highest bidder, a practice intended to line the pockets of bosses. Let's show the rest of the country that New Jersey believes in free and fair elections. No more buying the line, no more threats, no more backroom deals. It is now time for real reform. The people of New Jersey are asking for better. I demand better, and we all deserve better. History will remember you for what you do here today. I pray that you have the courage to do what's right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Pilata. Do we have any questions for Mr. Pilata?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Next, we have Chloe Desire. Chloe?
She just stepped out.
She stepped out. We'll come back to her. Then we have Roger Bacon.
I'm with Mr. Solana about this, whatever he said. The county line. I'm Roger Bacon from Phillipsburg. I'm a candidate for governor next year. And my issue is really not with the ballot, but ballot petition access. It seems to me before Governor Murphy became, is that part of this conversation, ballot petition access?
You have your 3 minutes.
Okay, so anyway, before Governor Murphy, ballot petitions were accessible 24/7, 365 on the website. And now Phil Murphy is the governor, and they're only available like from the end of January until you have to submit them in April. That's like 8 weeks of the worst weather we have in New Jersey. You know, for a guy like me that has to get 1,000 signatures, that's really tough. I say go back to the ballot petition access 24/7. There should be no restrictions on ballot petitions, you know, because they're the people's documents. They're for the people. You know, that's how I feel about it. And like Mr. Todd said, if there's an issue with this county line thing, you know, it should be abolished. I'm with him on that. Do you have any questions? I'm a Bill of Rights guy. I'm for the Bill of Rights. I'm the voice of the founders. Right? You know, that's just how I am. It's in me. I'm a mechanic. I know how to fix things.
Any questions for Mr. Bacon?
Guess not. All right. Thanks for give me a chance to speak.
Thank you.
Sure.
Chloe? I didn't want to mess up your last name.
Oh, my last name's Desir.
Desir, there you go.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I might as well introduce myself. My name is Chloe. I'm here out of my own volition, to make that very clear. I'm a poli-sci major, so I really find this so riveting. But nonetheless, I am an organizer here in Newark. I do a lot of environmental justice organizing in particular, which is an intersectional issue. We deal with housing in the midst of so many other things. But I want to preface by saying that I have zero context of what's going on here. I didn't know that there was 2 hearings before this even. And I think that kind of just goes into the theme of what I really want to make clear here is that there's so much misinformation and like much of a necessity to get more voter education out here. I think that's the most important thing because in my experience of organizing, I've realized that it's so important for people to be aware of who their local elected officials even are, because a lot of them don't. And our voter turnout is close to abysmal. So I think that's one of the reasons why I think it's a great incentive for us to have a change to our ballot design so people can know who y'all even are, you know? I think that's so important. Assemblywoman Reynolds Jackson, I think that it was great that you even brought the question about seeing if we should even take out the primaries altogether. I think that's a concept that we should really think about too, because a lot of folks don't even show up to the primaries where they're actually having what I believe to be a much more involved election, and you have more options and candidates to look for as opposed to who's being represented by the party. I think it's also important to bring up that I want to come back here with more context, of course, and I probably should inquire a little bit more about this process because I know you said that the next one's November 18th. Are there going to be more hearings following that as well?
There'll be another virtual hearing after that.
Okay, and also, when did this even come to fruition? This board, this
Before last year's primary.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm very glad to see a student. Are you a student here at NJIT?
No, but thank you for thinking that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really important that young folks like you get involved in this process.
Yeah.
And, you know, to hear even numbers like only 30% of voters coming out in Bergen County, that's pretty surprising.
I mean, in
Newark,
Newark,
and I live in Patterson where the numbers are very low voter turnout. But I think, you know, Mayor Baraka said some outstanding things about, you know, getting kids involved in the school board elections at 16. Day of able to register and vote on the same day as many other states do, and to encourage more people to get involved in the process regardless if you're a Republican or a Democrat.
Right.
So I think we need young people like you. So I think you should go to our website, and I hope to see you very often down in Trenton in the future.
I mean,
now our next hearing is going to be way down in South Jersey unless you go to Rowan.
I went to Rowan actually.
Well, then come down and visit us next month, and you may be able to tell us where to eat afterwards. But we appreciate it. But we need your involvement. We need young folks involved.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. I feel like it's so important to be a part of this process altogether, and I definitely want to come back to this virtual hearing with a lot more context and the ability to give you a more informed opinion about what I think about this altogether. But yeah, thank you for holding this. It's exciting, and I mean, I'm eons away from believing that we're going to see any of the things that I really want to see here, which is ranked choice voting that was mentioned by Charlie earlier. But yeah, let's start off with the ballot design. Thank you.
Now, thank you. Appreciate it. Do you have any questions? No questions. Okay, that's fine. If you're hanging out with Charlie, I know you're all right. Right, so very good. But at this time, do any members have any comments before we close? No comments? Good. So once again, we'd like to thank NJIT for hosting us today, and we thank the president and we thank the staff. Very able staff that we have over here, some friends of ours that are working here at NJIT. We also thank the members of the ballot committee because contrary to what people think, we do not have some legislation hidden in the drawer somewhere ready to go. If it is, I have not been privy to it. Have you been privy to it? I mean, so this is something that I believe that, you know, hearing the comments from, you know, the professionals who are in here, an everyday person that is very concerned about it. But one of the main issues I think is voter turnout. And, you know, disenfranchising voters should be concerns for everybody. I don't care what party you're a part of. So I think that's something that we have to, continue to work on and get folks involved in this process. So as stated earlier, we are still working on a location. It will be 6 p.m. next Monday, November 18th, in the southern part of the state. There are issues with Wi-Fi that we are working out to make sure this is able to be live streamed. And then after that one, there will be another virtual hearing, before, I would say, December, before the holidays. So if there are no further comments, we'd like to adjourn at this time.